The distress beacon screamed across 7-star systems, its automated urgency cutting through the void of space like a desperate prayer. Commander Kyle Morrison stood on the bridge of the destroyer Valiant Dawn, watching the holographic display flicker with red emergency markers. The message was clear. A Vexari mining colony on the fringe of the outer helix was under attack by an unknown force, and they were requesting immediate military support. Kyle rubbed his tired eyes and glanced at his navigation officer, Lieutenant Amy Brooks. She was already running calculations, her fingers dancing across the translucent interface with practiced efficiency. The Vexari are calling in favors from every nearby fleet, she said without looking up. Their reinforcements are at least 6 hours out, maybe more. How far are we from their position? Kyle asked. 3 hours if we push the engines hard. 2.5 if we bypass safety protocols. Kyle turned to his tactical officer, Lieutenant Greg Palmer, a stocky man with sharp eyes who rarely smiled. What do we know about the attackers? Not much, sir. Initial reports suggest multiple warships, possibly Krelnith raiders or mercenary groups. The colony has minimal defenses. They have maybe an hour before the shields collapse. Kyle felt the weight of command settle on his shoulders. The Vexari were not exactly allies of humanity, but they were not enemies either. They had opened trade routes with Earth a decade ago, exchanging raw materials for advanced medical technology. The relationship was cordial, professional, and cautious. The Vexari were insected beings with 4 arms, compound eyes, and a hive-like social structure that made human diplomats nervous. Yet they had proven reliable trading partners, never once breaking a contract or engaging in the kind of duplicity humans had come to expect from some of the other species. Set a course, Kyle said. Maximum burn. We are going in. Amy looked up from her console, her expression a mix of surprise and concern. Sir, we are just one destroyer. If this is a coordinated attack, we could be walking into a trap. Noted, Kyle replied, his voice steady. But if we wait for backup, that colony is going to be ash and rubble. Plot the course. She nodded and turned back to her station. Within moments, the Valiant Dawn shuddered as its engines roared to life, propelling the ship through the dark expanse at velocities that made the crew uneasy. The stars outside the viewport became streaks of light, and the familiar hum of faster-than-light travel filled the bridge. Kyle walked to the observation window, staring out into the infinite void. Somewhere ahead, people were dying. The Vexari might not share human values, but they were sentient beings with families and lives worth protecting. He thought about his own family back on Earth, his sister Kate who taught history at the university, his nephew Ryan who wanted to be a starship pilot. If roles were reversed, he would hope someone would come. 2 hours later, the Valiant Dawn dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the Vexari colony system. The sight before them was grim. 3 alien warships, sleek and menacing, circled the small moon where the colony was located. Explosions lit up the surface as defensive turrets tried desperately to fend off the attackers. The colony shields flickered, a dying heartbeat of blue energy. Greg leaned over his console, scanning the enemy vessels. Confirmed, sir. Krelnith raiders, 3 cruisers heavily armed. They are tearing through the colony defenses like paper. What about our weapons status? Kyle asked. All systems green. Rail guns charged, missile batteries loaded, and point defense systems online. Kyle took a deep breath. The Krelnith were known throughout the galaxy as brutal scavengers, species who thrived on chaos and violence. They raided colonies for resources, slaves, and sometimes just for the thrill of destruction. Facing 3 of their cruisers with a single destroyer was not a fight any sane commander would take. But Kyle Morrison was not about to abandon innocent beings to their fate. All hands to battle stations, he ordered. Amy, transmit a message to the Vexari colony. Tell them help has arrived. The bridge lights shifted to red as alarms blared throughout the ship. Crew members rushed to their posts, securing stations and preparing for combat. Kyle felt his pulse quicken, adrenaline sharpening his senses. Greg, target the lead cruiser. Fire on my command. The Valiant Dawn surged forward, accelerating toward the battle zone. The Krelnith ships detected them almost immediately, their sensors locking onto the human destroyer. One of the cruisers broke away from the colony, turning to face the newcomer. "Incoming transmission," Amy said. "The Krelnith are hailing us. Put them through." The holographic display shimmered, revealing the grotesque face of a Krelnith commander. The alien resembled a hairless predator with sharp teeth, glowing yellow eyes, and scales that glistened like polished stone. Its voice was a guttural hiss, translated by the ship computer. "Human vessel, you intrude where you do not belong. Leave now or you will share the fate of this pathetic colony." Kyle stepped forward, his expression hard. "This is Commander Kyle Morrison of the Terran Expeditionary Force. You are attacking a civilian mining colony. Stand down immediately or we will engage." The Krelnith commander laughed, a sound like grinding metal. "One human ship against 3 of ours. You are either brave or foolish, perhaps both. We will add your wreckage to the debris field." The transmission cut off. Greg looked at Kyle. "They are powering weapons, sir." "Then let us show them what human engineering can do. Fire." The Valiant Dawn unleashed its arsenal. Twin-rail guns fired tungsten slugs at a fraction of the speed of light, slamming into the lead Krelnith cruiser with devastating force. The enemy shields flared bright orange, absorbing the impact, but cracks spiderwebbed across their defensive barrier. Before the Krelnith could respond, the Valiant Dawn launched a salvo of missiles, guided by precision targeting algorithms. The missiles spiraled through space, evading defensive fire with erratic movements. 2 struck home, detonating against the cruiser hull. Explosions rippled across the ship, and it listed to one side, venting atmosphere. "First blood," Greg said with grim satisfaction. "But the other 2 are closing in." Kyle watched the tactical display as the remaining Krelnith cruisers maneuvered into attack positions, flanking the Valiant Dawn from both sides. This was the moment that separated good commanders from great ones. The moment when strategy mattered more than firepower. "Amy, hard burn to starboard. Greg, concentrate fire on the port side cruiser. I want everything we have got." The destroyer pivoted sharply, its maneuvering thrusters firing in rapid bursts. The sudden acceleration pressed the crew into their seats, gravity compensators struggling to keep up. The port side cruiser opened fire, energy beams lancing through the void. Most missed, but one struck the Valiant Dawn amidships, scorching the armor plating. "Shields holding at 70%, Amy reported. Kyle gripped the command chair. "Fire." The rail guns thundered again, this time supported by point defense lasers that carved glowing lines across the enemy hull. The Krelnith cruiser returned fire, but the Valiant Dawn was already moving, executing a barrel roll that brought it beneath the cruiser belly where their weapons could not track. Greg targeted the vulnerable underbelly and the missiles found their mark. The cruiser shuddered, internal explosions tearing through its reactor core. In a brilliant flash it detonated, sending shrapnel spinning into the void. "2 down," Kyle said. "Where is the 3rd? "Behind us," Amy shouted. "They are lining up for a broadside." Kyle did not hesitate. Emergency deceleration. Full reverse thrust. The maneuver was dangerous, the kind of stunt that could tear a ship apart if the structural integrity fields failed. But it worked. The Valiant Dawn came to a near instantaneous stop, and the pursuing Krelnith cruiser overshot, flying past the human destroyer. "Now," Kyle ordered. The rail guns fired point blank into the cruiser engines. The slugs tore through the ship like a hot knife through butter, and the reactor went critical. The final Krelnith warship exploded in a cascade of fire and metal. Silence fell over the bridge. "Threat eliminated," Greg said, his voice barely above a whisper. Kyle exhaled slowly, releasing tension he had not realized he was holding. "Status report." Amy checked her console, shields at 42%. "Minor hull damage on decks 3 and 5. No casualties. We got lucky, sir." "Luck had nothing to do with it," Greg muttered, though a faint smile tugged at his lips. Before Kyle could respond, the communications console chimed. Amy glanced at the readout and looked up in surprise. "Incoming transmission from the Vexari colony. Put them through." The holographic display flickered, revealing a Vexari administrator. The insectoid being stood nearly 7 feet tall, its forearms gesturing in what Kyle had learned was a sign of gratitude. Its mandibles clicked rapidly as it spoke, the translator rendering its words into smooth English. "Commander Morrison, we owe you a debt beyond measure. You arrived when all hope seemed lost. Our reinforcements are still hours away. You saved countless lives today. Kyle inclined his head respectfully. We were in the area. It was the right thing to do. The Vexari administrator paused, its compound eyes reflecting a spectrum of colors. Your species is young in the galactic community, yet you possess something rare. Honor. Most would have calculated the risk and declined. You did not. Kyle felt a surge of pride, not just for himself but for his crew and for humanity. We look after our neighbors. The administrator bowed, a gesture that required all four arms. This will be remembered, Commander. The Vexari do not forget their friends. The transmission ended and Kyle turned to face his crew. Every officer on the bridge was watching him, their expressions a mixture of exhaustion and pride. Well done, everyone, Kyle said. Take us to standard orbit. Let us make sure the colony is secure before we head home. As the Valiant Dawn settled into a protective position above the colony, Kyle allowed himself a moment to reflect. This was not the first time humans had intervened in conflicts that were not technically their problem. Earth had joined the galactic community only 30 years ago, and in that time, humanity had earned a reputation for being unpredictable, stubborn, and fiercely protective of the underdog. Other species saw it as irrational. Humans saw it as the right thing to do. Hours later, the Vexari reinforcements finally arrived. A fleet of sleek warships dropped out of faster-than-light travel, their weapon systems primed and ready. The fleet commander, a high-ranking Vexari military officer named Zenth, contacted the Valiant Dawn immediately. "Commander Morrison," Zenth said, its voice tinged with what Kyle interpreted as astonishment. "We received reports of your engagement with the Krelnith raiders. 3 cruisers destroyed by a single human destroyer." "I confess I did not believe it at first." Kyle shrugged. "We had good positioning and a motivated crew." Zenth made a sound that the translator rendered as laughter. "Modesty does not diminish your achievement, Commander. The Krelnith are formidable opponents. You have done what many would consider impossible." Kyle appreciated the praise, but he was more interested in ensuring the colony could rebuild. "Commander Zenth, the colony suffered damage during the attack. Do they need additional supplies or personnel?" Zenth consulted with someone off-screen before responding. "We will provide what is necessary. However, the colony administrator has requested that you remain in orbit for a time. They wish to express their gratitude properly." Kyle glanced at Amy, who shrugged. "We can stay a few more hours, sir. The crew could use the downtime." "Very well," Kyle said. "We will remain in orbit." The following day, Kyle found himself invited to the colony surface. He took a small shuttle down, accompanied by Amy and Greg. The colony was a sprawling network of domed structures built into the rocky terrain of the moon. Despite the recent attack, the Vexari were already hard at work repairing the damage, their efficiency a testament to their hive-like coordination. They were greeted by the administrator, who led them through the colony to a central gathering hall. Inside, hundreds of Vexari workers had assembled, their compound eyes watching the humans with what Kyle hoped was curiosity rather than hostility. The administrator raised its upper arms and the room fell silent. "Today, we honor those who came to our aid in our darkest hour. Commander Kyle Morrison and the crew of the Valiant Dawn risked their lives to protect strangers. This is the mark of true courage." The Vexari began a rhythmic clicking sound, a form of applause unique to their species. Kyle felt his face flush with embarrassment. He was not accustomed to such public displays of gratitude. The administrator continued. "We have prepared a gift. It is small compared to the debt we owe, but we hope it will serve you well." 2 Vexari workers approached, carrying a sleek metallic case. The administrator opened it, revealing a set of advanced sensor modules, far more sophisticated than anything Kyle had seen on human ships. "These are our latest design," the administrator explained. "They will enhance your ship detection range and accuracy. Consider it a token of our appreciation." Kyle accepted the gift with a respectful nod. "Thank you. We will put these to good use." As the ceremony concluded, Kyle, Amy, and Greg mingled with the Vexari workers. Despite their alien appearance, the Vexari were warm and welcoming. They shared stories of their families, their work, and their hopes for the future. It reminded Kyle that beneath the surface differences, Sentient beings everywhere shared common dreams. Later, as the shuttle ascended back to the Valiant Dawn, Amy broke the silence. Do you think this will change how the galaxy sees us? Kyle considered the question, maybe. Or maybe it just reminds them that humans are willing to fight for what is right, even when it is not convenient. Greg leaned back in his seat. Either way, we sent a message today. Mess with civilians and you will have to deal with us. Amy smiled. I like that message. When they returned to the Valiant Dawn, Kyle made his way to the bridge. The ship was preparing to depart, systems running final diagnostics before the jump to faster-than-light travel. He sat in the command chair, feeling the familiar hum of the engines beneath him. Amy set the course for home, and within minutes, the Valiant Dawn was underway. As the stars stretched into lines of light, Kyle allowed himself a rare moment of satisfaction. They had made a difference today. They had proven that humanity, despite being newcomers to the galactic stage, had something valuable to offer. Weeks later, Kyle received a transmission from Terran Command. He sat in his quarters, reviewing the message on his personal console. The admiral who appeared on the screen was stern but respectful. Commander Morrison, your actions at the Vexari colony have not gone unnoticed. The Vexari government has formally commended you and your crew. They have also expressed interest in expanding diplomatic and military cooperation with Earth. Kyle nodded. They are good people, Admiral. They deserve our support. The Admiral allowed a rare smile. Agreed. Your actions have opened doors that diplomacy alone could not. Well done, Commander. The transmission ended and Kyle sat back, staring at the stars beyond his window. He thought about the Vexari, about the battles yet to come, and about the future humanity was building among the stars. They had called for reinforcements, and humanity had answered. Not because it was easy or because it was profitable, but because it was right. And in a galaxy full of uncertainty, that meant something. The Valiant Dawn continued its journey home, carrying with it the knowledge that somewhere in the vast expanse of space, there were beings who would remember what humans had done. And when the time came, when humanity needed allies, those memories would matter. Because in the end, the galaxy did not just need warriors, it needed heroes. And humanity, for all its flaws, had proven it could rise to that challenge. The story of the Valiant Dawn would be told for generations. A single human destroyer that arrived first, fought against impossible odds and won. It would inspire others, human and alien alike, to believe that courage still mattered, that honor still had a place in the cold void of space. And as the ship disappeared into the endless night, Kyle Morrison knew that this was only the beginning. The galaxy was vast, filled with wonders and dangers beyond imagination. But wherever humans went, they would carry with them the values that had brought them this far. Compassion, courage, and the unshakable belief that everyone, no matter how different, deserved a chance to live free from fear. That was the human way, and it would change the galaxy forever.